this through the midnight. Give me the sight.
Hello, I am Kristi Mitchell and I am the Client Services Coordinator for Willowstone Family Services. One of the jobs that I do here is facilitate many of our parenting workshops that we hold. And I thought I'd just take a minute today to check in with everyone and see how you're doing. As parents and caregivers, it's been a weird year, for sure. We've been teachers, we've been caregivers, we've learned how to work from home, and it's been a little difficult. And the year just seems to keep getting stranger. We've had to deal with things we never thought we would be dealing with. And I don't know about you, but I'm starting to feel like I'm in an extended episode of Stranger Things. And I wake up every morning wondering what new and strange thing is coming to get me from the upside down. In all seriousness, though, we've got a lot of big stuff going on. And our children have had to go through this too. So I know if I'm feeling a little afraid and overwhelmed and very, very confused, our children probably are too. So I thought we could have a little discussion today about what we can do as parents and caregivers to support our kids during this time and to help try to make the world a little bit better from where we are. You know, one thing we say here on Willowstone quite frequently is that all behavior has meaning. And we can usually trace all behavior, even that behavior that makes us uncomfortable and afraid, back to an unmet attachment need, like safety, acceptance, feeling valued and cared for, feeling a part of a community. Now, we're not saying that all behavior is okay. What I am saying is that all behavior has meaning. Sometimes that meaning is very, very difficult to figure out. And we don't have to like it, and we don't have to agree with it, but we do need to take the time to look in to what the message is behind the behaviors that we're seeing. For lots of us, we may be seeing different source of behaviors in our children that we just can't figure out. Kids that were previously quite independent may be very clingy right now. Kids that used to be very clingy may want to have nothing to do with you. Your kids might be angry. They might be acting out, they might be yelling, or they may be very withdrawn and keeping to themselves a lot. These are all expressions that some people have for anger and fear. So how can you help? Well, you can let your children know that they are safe and that they are valued and that you are there to help them. We have put a list of resources on our website to help parents with kids of different ages with appropriate items and ways to address the issues that they're seeing right now. And there's a lot of big stuff going on. Big conversations happening. Talk with your kids about what they're seeing. Allow them to ask you questions and encourage them to have honest curiosity about the world around them right now. And admit that you may not have all the answers and you may not understand some of the perspectives that you're hearing. We may have very different experiences and be coming from very different places. I know that my children, as children of police officers, have very different experiences than, say, a child whose parents have been mistreated by a peace officer or whose parents have been arrested in front of them. Those children are going to have very different ideas about what's happening in the world. And we need to help each other understand that. One of the things that we can do with our children and with the people around us is to watch our language. You know, avoid absolutes. It doesn't always rain on Wednesdays. And pit bulls don't always try to bite people, and not all Asian children are good at math. So watch what we say and try to avoid those stereotypes and absolutes that can paint us into a corner and paint pictures for our children that we don't necessarily want them to have long term. Be aware of that implicit bias that we all have. Now, to say that you have implicit bias is in no way insinuating that we're racist. It is saying to be aware of those things that we've been conditioned to associate together. For instance, if I told you I was going to go make a sandwich and I needed to get out my peanut butter and my 95% of you are going to say, I'm getting out the jelly to go with my peanut butter. Because we've been conditioned in our society from a very young age to understand that the most popular thing that goes with peanut butter is jelly. However, I am here to tell you that my youngest son's favorite sandwich was not peanut butter and jelly. It was the Fluffernutter, which is the peanut butter and marshmallow cream sandwich. And I also hear that Elvis Presley liked bananas with his peanut butter. And I had an elderly woman in my life at one point in time who loved nothing more than a good old peanut butter and butter sandwich, which I, of course, was not a fan of, but she loved dearly. You see, it doesn't always have to be jelly that goes with peanut butter, just because that's what my mind immediately goes to. And we need to be aware that there are other things that we associate together, and those things are not always positive either. And we need to be aware of the times that we are exposing our children to the biases that we have. When we're aware of those things, we can begin to address them in positive ways and help our children to feel powerful as they're addressing those situations as well. We can see people in a different light and recognize that we can care for and respect everyone based on character, not color. I would encourage you also to watch what you're exposing your kids to on TV. They don't need to see everything that they're showing on the news. And the things that are appropriate for you to know and watch that are unfolding in the world around us can be very traumatizing to young children. So I encourage you to put some boundaries in place as to what kids are being exposed to. Not just about the issues we're seeing with social justice and racial inequality in our society, but having kids be exposed over and over to too much information about the COVID-19 crisis and death and people being ill and people being isolated in hospitals can also be extremely frightening, and it can have some long-term damage. So watch what's happening on the TV, limit exposure to it, limit the exposure to social media. I would say the most important thing you could do right now for yourself and for your children is to look for people who are making a difference. Look for those people who are helping. Take the ever popular words of Mr. Fred Rogers in place and know that when something bad happens, you can always look for the helpers. The helpers are always there, people standing up in positive, healthy, and supportive ways, making a difference in the world. Remember, all behavior has meaning. We need to look back at that and see what that meaning is. Let our children know it's okay to talk about. What do they think the meaning is? How did they come to that conclusion? And this can be difficult, especially for parents of young adults and teens, when their ideas about what something means and what is right and wrong might be very different than ours. They might flat out be in conflict with what it is. And that can be frustrating and maybe a little hurtful as parents that they've taken a different path from ours. I would just encourage you to keep those avenues of conversation open. Allow them to come to you with their thoughts and to ask questions and to, again, have honest curiosity about the different ways the world is working right now and what they can do to be a part of that picture in a positive and healthy way. These are big conversations. These are hard conversations. It's a really strange world we've got going on right now, but we're all still a part of it. And all of our thoughts, all of our feelings, all of the questions we have are valid and meaningful and a part of the conversation that needs to take place. So I encourage you to head to our website at willowstone.org. We've got a list there of a lot of resources that you can talk with your children about helping them through difficult situations, like the kind we're seeing in our society right now, where when those things happen to individuals, individual families, we're experiencing death, we're experiencing loss, we're experiencing concern and crisis. And those happen to us on individual levels as well as a part of a community. But the number one thing we can do is to remember to look for those people who are helping, because there's always good happening in the world as well. Thanks so much for listening. Please feel free to reach out to our website at willowstone.org to get more information. Thanks so much. Take care.
Yes, through the midnight, yeah, me the sight I shine.